So imagine this, a secret war, fought in the shadows for decades, suddenly just explodes. Today, we're diving into a really dramatic scenario, all based on our source materials, that explores exactly that. A 50-year shadow war that finally, and very violently, steps into the light.
It all kicks off with this incredibly blunt announcement. Picture it. February 28, 2026. The world is suddenly told a massive new war has just begun. But, as we're about to see, the fuse for this thing was lit a very long time ago.
So, we're starting right at the peak of the action. The sources describe this meticulously planned, massive, coordinated strike. The goal? To basically decapitate the Iranian regime and its military in one single swift blow.
On day one, boom, Operation Epic Fury begins with nearly 900 strikes. We're talking about the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, being killed, along with his defense minister and other top commanders. The attack is absolutely devastating, but it is not a one-sided affair. Iran hits back, and they hit back hard, launching waves of missiles at US bases all across the region. And just like that, the shadow war is over. This is open warfare.
Okay, so a full-blown regional war like this, it doesn't just pop up out of nowhere, right? This raises the most important question of all. How, after decades of simmering tensions, did it finally get to this point? To answer that, we've got to rewind the clock. See, the thing is, this war in 2026, it's not really a new war at all. According to the sources, it's the final, bloody chapter of a 50-year-long covert campaign fought across the entire Middle East. It was a campaign of terror, of proxy forces, and of these asymmetrical attacks.
This timeline here, it really maps out a brutal history. It all starts back in 1979 with the U.S. Embassy seizure, where 52 Americans were held for 444 days. From there, the violence escalates through proxies like Hezbollah, with the Beirut barracks bombing killing 241 American service members in a single morning. And the pattern just keeps going, right through the Khobar Towers bombing and deep into the Iraq War.
I want you to really think about this number. During the Iraq War, militias backed by Iran, armed with Iranian explosives and intelligence, killed 603 American troops. That means 1 out of every 6 U.S. combat deaths in that entire war was linked back to Iran. Let that sink in. This wasn't some sideshow. This was a core part of their strategy.
So the big question is, how did Iran do it? How do you fight a superpower for 50 years without ever officially, declaring war? The answer is their core strategy, the axis of resistance. It's this whole network of anti-American and anti-Israeli groups designed to project power while giving Iran plausible deniability.
And the military term for this strategy is asymmetric warfare. It's actually a pretty simple idea when you break it down. When you can't match your enemy plane for plane or ship for ship, you don't play their game. You use different tools. And for Iran, those tools have been things like terrorism, assassinations, and most importantly, proxy forces. And here are the main players, the key tools in that toolbox. You've got groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis down in Yemen, and all sorts of militias in Iraq. They are all armed, trained, and funded by Iran's Quds Force, which is basically the regime's special forces for foreign operations. It allows Tehran to wage war all over the place. For decades, this shadow war had these unwritten rules. Both sides kind of knew how far they could push without things totally blowing up. But in the 2020s, a whole series of events, assassinations, direct attacks, broken deals, just shattered that fragile understanding, pushing the entire conflict from the shadows right into the harsh light of day.
And then things just start to unravel really fast. In 2018, the US pulls out of the nuclear deal. Then in 2020, the US kills Qasem Soleimani, the guy who basically built Iran's entire proxy network. By 2024, the whole idea of fighting through proxy is gone. Israel and Iran are firing missiles directly at each other. And then the final straw comes in June 2025, when Israel launches a massive unilateral strike on Iran's nuclear sites. Tehran calls it an act of war, and at that point, there's really no turning back.
Okay, so if you just look at the raw numbers, on paper, this looks like a total mismatch, right? The US is the #1 military power on Earth. Iran is ranked 16th. But here's the thing. Iran was never planning to fight a conventional head-on war. Their real power lies in their arsenal of about 3,000 ballistic missiles and their incredibly effective kamikaze drones like the Shahed 136. It's a strategy designed to inflict pain and cause chaos.
And that brings us right back to our 2026 scenario.
The first shots have been fired, but instead of things calming down, the conflict just sends these massive shockwaves across the globe. It plunges the entire region and really the whole world into total chaos.
So, what does Iran do? They immediately play their most powerful card, the biggest weapon they have short of a nuclear bomb. They announce the complete closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is one of the most important maritime choke points on the entire planet.
Now, why does that matter so much? I mean, a strait is closed, what's the big deal? Well, it is a huge deal because 1/5, a full 20% of the world's entire oil supply has to pass through that tiny waterway. So by closing it, Iran basically turns a regional war into a global economic crisis overnight. And just to make sure everyone gets the message, the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who took over after his father was killed, he comes out in his very first public statement and basically says, yeah, we closed it, and it's staying closed as a weapon against our enemies.
And the global fallout is immediate and it's catastrophic. Oil prices just go through the roof. Iran's missile and drone strikes start hitting not just US bases, but also neighboring Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. A massive humanitarian crisis unfolds, with reports of over 1,500 civilians killed inside Iran and millions of people being displaced across the region.
So after 50 years of shadowboxing, the gloves are finally off. Both sides are landing these absolutely devastating blows. But this leads to the ultimate question that the source material poses. After all of this, how does it actually end?
Now, from the US perspective, the goal is pretty clear. The Pentagon chief, Pete Hegseth, sounds incredibly confident. He says the coming days will be decisive and that Iran's military options are basically gone. But after everything we've seen, is it really that simple? As history has shown us, time and time again, this conflict has never been conventional. This war with Iran isn't just a sudden flare-up. It's the fiery climax of a half-century of bloodshed, proxy fighting, and secret warfare. And that leaves us all with one final haunting question. After so long, how does a 50-year war actually end?